So I would like for you to help me with this. I have a grandson who's 9, and I like to hear Esther speak about her grandchildren and how just being with them, that takes you into the vortex, which does for me with him. So when I first heard about the law of attraction, which was about 1.5 years ago, and then started reading the Sarah books, which I think are great, I started talking to him about the law of attraction. And he saw the books, and he saw the tapes, and he saw Esther and Jerry Hicks and recognized the authors and all this. And so he saw the book, Ask and It Is Given. And he said, "Queenie, what is that?" And I said, "Well, you just have to ask, and then you get whatever you ask." So he goes, "Great." And he comes up with these wild things about asking. And he said, and so if I want to go to a building and be a superhero and jump off the building, can I do that? And I said, "I'm going to have to get back with you on this." And I said, "I'm going to ask Abraham how to tell you about this."
It's really wonderful to hear it from a little one and to recognize that even in his really early exposure to life, he already can feel the wildness. You used the word wild, but he can feel the extremeness in what he's asking about, sort of testing a little bit. The correct answer, and we're going to fill this all in for you, but the correct answer always is, when you want something, when you want an outcome, and you expect the outcome, then it comes about. So ask and it is given, or expect and it is given, those words are interchangeable. Of course, you've heard us say that there are 3 steps: ask, source answers, and then you must allow. So even at its elementary introduction to a child, there is more to it than just saying the words, "I want it." You have to help this child understand that you don't ask with your words, you ask with the rocket of desire that emanates from you, and that the real work, or the real finesse in creating, is in tuning yourself to what you've asked for. So to put it in child's terms, which it's a wonderful thing to do because everyone understands basics better if they are broken down in simple terms. So if we were visiting with this little one, we would say, "What do you think would happen if you were to jump off a building?" And he might say, "Well, I would just fly away." But then you say, "But you've seen enough of life. What do you think would happen? What do you think would happen if that bird jumped off the building?" "Well, I think the bird would fly away." And so then you could say, "Well, then you've come to expect that bird to fly because that bird flies. But what do you think would happen if you jumped off that building without any bird wings? What do you think would happen? What do you expect would happen?" And he would say, "I would fall to the ground." And then you could say, that's what expectation is. Expectation is what we've come to think will happen under these conditions. And then say to him, that's what I'm working to change. I'm working to find different expectations. I'm working to see it as I want it to be. But I'm not trying to stretch it so far that I can't believe it. So I start with things that I can believe. Like, say to him, there was a time when man wanted to fly and didn't believe he could. People rode trains and they rode horses and they even had automobiles, but there was a lot that was going on before we were flying in the sky. We came to expect it, and there will be a time when individuals will be able to propel themselves around. In other words, there will be a time when you can strap something that helps you expect it more. You can soar like the hang gliders off the cliffs in California and so forth. But it is important that expectation be in place before you offer any action. If you don't expect it, then you shouldn't go forward with the action. So the Sarah books, that's an interesting thing, because Sarah is flying with Solomon. But the book is very clear, and the second one more so, and the third one more so, and the fourth one, which you haven't read yet, even more so, that the actual flying at this point for those children is an out-of-body experience. In other words, they are not taking their physical bodies. Sarah is out there flying in her nightgown in the middle of the night, recognizing that she is not cold. Solomon is very clear with her that it is a vibrational thing that is going on, not a physical thing. There have been parents that have said, well, I'm worried about my children. Now they've read the Sarah books, they might just jump off a building. And we are not the least bit worried about that, because we know that children, even in their very early years, have seen enough of the way gravity affects their physical body to come to expect the gravitational pull's response to their experience. Words don't teach, it is life experience that teaches. So now let's come back further to the really important details of this question. So this 9-year-old is now asking, take us back to the place about, you said I couldn't have such and such, or you said I couldn't do that.
I can't remember the exact. It was like another time he said, oh, so if I want $1 million in the bank, then I can have that tomorrow. And I said, no, that's not really how it works. I mean,
it is how it works. It is how it works. But the question is, what's going to have to change in your vibration or thought process that makes you expect it? Because this is the thing that's hard to teach to anyone, and maybe a child is readier to hear it than many adults are. It's when you want it and believe it that it immediately is. So the answer to that child would be, well, if by tomorrow you can believe it, then yes, it could be there tomorrow. And you don't even really want to say, but for most people it won't be there tomorrow, because that just keeps shoring up the reason that for most people it isn't there tomorrow. So it's an interesting thing when we say you can be or do or have anything that you want. We're not kidding you. There are no limitations, but the rules always apply. You must want it and offer no consistent thought that opposes it. And so that's the thing that you want to say to the child when you want it and believe it. It's the expectation. So let's go back to the basics of the questions, because you came for clarification. Ask us the questions just singularly as they came.
That he asked me?
Yes.
Can I be on top of a large building and be a superhero and fly off the building?
Yes, I believe that you can. And I don't recommend that you take the jump until you know that you're in absolute alignment with that thought.
Okay.
Now, we're going to give you more. The answer has to be yes, because all things are possible. But don't do it until you're sure you're in alignment with your desire. Take it further. There are many things that man didn't believe that he could do that now he can do. But thought alignment has to come into place first. Start with the little things. That's what I'm doing, say. That's what I'm doing. I'm starting with the little things, because it's discovering what I believe. If a person wonders if they can do it and jumps off to find out, they crash to the bottom. If a person knows they can before they jump, they have prepared themselves with all things necessary to have the successful outcome. It's all about what we come to expect. And that's what life is so much fun about, coming to expect. In other words, I would expect you to do that if you jumped off with a parachute. I would expect you to do it if you jumped off with an airplane. I would expect you to do it if you jumped off with wings. But if you jumped off without any of those things, it would be hard for me to expect you to do it. So I don't even want to think about that, you see. In other words, what you're trying to do, and this is such a significant conversation that we're having, because what you're saying is there's a generation coming up that are coming to believe. They were born believing things that I still can't believe. Look at what's going on in technology. There are children born believing things that people living on the planet still can't fathom, even though they've already become reality. So we're talking about that generation gap, but we're really talking about a vibrational gap. So the comfortable answer is all things are possible. But I've come to the place that I don't offer any action until I understand with everything that I am that what I want and what I believe are in exactly the same place. So I never jump off a building until I know unequivocally that I will have the successful landing that I'm shooting for. That's the right answer.
Okay.
Good time for a segment of lunch.